Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Guile here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series, custom 6v6 goodness, winging its way to you today with a group of people so ordinary you can bet if they punch someone at the Oscars, they'd be going to jail. That's right, it's Average Joe's Day today here at Guilecast, and the best news is there's no news, so we can go straight to the action, which is going to take place on Adaptive Millennium. I'm ready, you guys are ready, and the players are sure as hell ready, so let's go on over to the game zone and see how they're going to get on. Ching. Ka-ching. Instant loading, that's what we like to see. We'll call this Team 1 up here at the top, just to stick with the theme, and this Team 2 down here at the bottom, going first for Team 1, or up here on the top right in lurid green. It's Sixolin. We'll call that a silent P, because I don't even want to think about it, otherwise it'll be a nightmare. Sixolin going Aeon, opening first land. Up here on a slightly raised section of turf, his teammate number 2, it's Vinyl117, or Vinyl as we'll be referring to him today. He's going Seraphim in Pontiff White, opening first land. Team member number 3, to his immediate left, another Seraphim, appropriately going Ferrari Red, it's Red X, he's opening first land. Team member number 4, over here, our first UEF of the day, it's faffing off in Spetsnaz Green, opening first land. Up on the top left-hand corner, the defensible position, it's Ragguys, as the normal people say it. He's going Cybrid in this season's fabulous Vivacious Violet, opening first land, and last but not least, in the precarious forward position over here, with his barefaced cheek, it's Bearcat. There we have it in Regal Purple, going Aeon, opening first land. That's Team 1. Let's slow it up a little bit. Let's check out Team 2. Down here at the bottom left-hand corner, it's Nacho Man FTW, or Nacho Man for the win. I'm guessing that is what it stands for. Going Seraphim, opening first land in Breast Cancer Awareness Pink. And next up over here in Baby Blue, another UEF. It's Once Handsome, very hard on himself, opening first land. Team member number 3 over here in Combat Green, we have Reaper 22. He's going first land. Team member number 4 to his right, another Cyberin, that's Orand. He's going electric blue first land. Over on the top right defensible position, we've got Scuzz, another Seraphim, they're popular today, opening first air in Dijon yellow, and up on the front line in the precarious spot, another UEF, it's Mike S, there he is, in lime green, opening first land. Game quality at 91%, could be better, could be a hell of a lot worse, we're happy enough with that. Let's check out the general racial breakdowns for the teams. It looks like we've got 2 Aeon, 2 Seraphim, a Cyberin, and a UEF there for Team 1. Team 2 looks like it's 2 Cyberin, 2 Seraphim, and 2 UEF there. So decent mix of races represented. I think we can afford to bump it up just a little bit. We've been here several times before in the recent future, but for those of you that don't remember, that is the mass reclaim distribution out here on Adaptive Millennium. A few little clumps around the center, lots of distribution, of course, around the cliff edges and all of the usual places, and importantly, of course, some big old stones, like the Titans and Gods have been having a stone skipping competition on this particular map. Big old rocks at the bottom of these ponds, either side of the middle. 338 mass per tick. Not per tick, available, sorry, per item for reclamation. Whoever's going to be able to get there first. And what have we got going on the advancement side of things, the territorial advancement? The ACUs are beginning to move out of the base, at least from Team 1. They seem to be a little bit more sedentary on Team 2 side of things. We're already getting an upgrade, in fact, from Once Handsome down here with a right shoulder drone. So that's some serious economy meta going down right there. He's going to complete that pretty comfortably by the looks of things. 100% done there. That's going to be a significant increase in build capacity in his base there. What's happening over here? We have got a little bit of conflict kicking off between Mike S and Sixolin. They blapped away at one another for a moment. In fact, it looked like Six got the first few shots in against Mike's, but Mike's, with his positioning, means he's going to scoop more mass than his opponent. He's got hit points to shed, so he won't worry about that. What have we got down here? Cheeky little run by early doors from a lab, and a combat scout there from Bearcat. Looks like they might possibly manage to take down a Mex or two. The ACU for Nacho Man has already evac'd the base, and if he keeps his eyes peeled, he might be able to prevent any more of these units making it into his main base. Bearcat is the first over on this left-hand side, though, to make it to this little mass field, and I think that's fair enough to say it's ever so slightly closer to the forward positions, the forward locales, which is why both Bearcat and who's the other one? Mike S. managed to get to those mass fields early doors. Where are we in terms of reclaims so far in totals? Well, Team 2 ever so slightly ahead by about 3k. That's reasonably, or maybe 2.5k. It's reasonably significant for the first 4 minutes of the game, which is where we're currently seated. Those rocks on the left-hand side having been scooped means the ACUs have little else to do but get into it with their guns. Bearcat taking the brunt of the damage so far. Again, similar to the situation over in the east. He was busy hoovering up the mass. Nacho Man late to the party, and so engaged him. And that's why we've seen a greater shedding of HP from the forward position player there. Nacho Man getting most of the mass under the water, though. So perhaps the distribution was changed up a little bit there. Where are we at? Nacho Man at 2.6k reclaim. Compare that to Bearcat, well, 3.6k there from him. So you can see definitely a noticeable difference. Big old transport laden with engineers does get locked onto there by an Intief by Rye guys, but all of those engineers will make it safely to the ground. The question is Scuzz paying attention? There are a couple of engineers lying in wait, and they're already getting on the reclaim side of things. 2 engineers down, and that will be a win on the ground there, which is a real shame, actually, there for Scuzz. That was a nice little drop, but just didn't work out, unfortunately for him. T2 upgrade in the middle on the way for Red X. 13% done there. Was paused temporarily, I guess, while he sorted his eco situation out, but now has resumed. Vinyl getting back to work with reclaim on that side of things. What have we got here, though? Nacho Man taking a little bit of damage here and backing up away from the midpoint. He's on about 6,400 hit points. Bearcat emerges from the water. He's on 5,400. Once again, these two guys trade blows. Bearcat going to dip back into the water, though. Doesn't like the look of that. Has got more reinforcements coming, but so does Nacho Man. And Nacho Man getting straight to work on a torpedo launcher, trying to oust Bearcat out of that pond and prevent him from using it as a safe haven. Is Bearcat going to try and start reclaiming it? Doesn't really want to end up in that constant cycle of reclamation and building. Vinyl over here. Excuse me, I did make it look a moment ago as if Vinyl backed up away from Red while he was on upgrade, but this is, of course, the 2 central players on Team 1. So Vinyl more or less acting like a vanguard, protecting Red X while he completes his T2 upgrade, which is progressing nicely. That's 85% done there. What have we got over here? Transport, airlifting engineers over to, or an engineer over to the water to do absolutely nothing by the looks of things. We do have mexes in the middle that can be grabbed, of course. Another engineer over there working on one as we speak. In comes some ground forces from Orund, just hugging that eastern pond, but I don't think they're going to get anywhere. We've got more units moving in from Vinyl and indeed from Red X. Reaper doesn't like the positioning. He's going to back up away from his forward land factory, mainly because that has suddenly appeared. Red X with his T2 upgrade throws down a point defense, and we've already got shield planned for this area, so it looks like this is going to be the situation for his forward base. Flak artillery on the way. Another shield gen wouldn't go amiss, as we've got bombers circling overhead. T2 upgrade for Vinyl now on the cards. 40% done there and climbing steadily. So this definitely looks like a little bit of a yielding of the midpoint going on right in the center of the map for Team 2. Team 1 look like they're reasonably in control there, although I might have spoken to earlier, Oren's completed a T2 engineering suite on his comm, and he's got a bit of a point defense creep going down by the looks of things. Well, we've got 2 that are situated in a line, and the next one that's going down is a stone's throw away. And are we going to get into some regular base wars? Meanwhile, on the western approach, A whole bunch of T1 bombers from once Handsome, having harassed the spam initially, now moves on to the main base of Bearcat. Bearcat's land factory, only a T1, but they're under sustained attack. Oh, down to 42 hit points. And it does go down. The last bomber, by the looks of things, we did have one over here as well, but the last bomber to attack it with any major attempt does manage to pick off the kill. How very irritating for Bearcat. Things looking pretty quiet in the east, meanwhile. Not an awful lot of action going on down there. We do have T2 units filing out of Mike S's base. Where are we for Six Solon? We're also at the T2 phase for him, although I'm not seeing an awful lot of T2 unit presence. Nice little tactical strike there. Sacrifices a T1 bomber but kills the radar. Whereabouts is Bearcat's commander? So he's moved well away from that side pond. That torpedo launcher never got completed by the looks of things, and Bearcat moved all the way back to base, but he's pretty badly damaged. He's down to about 3,300 hit points there. Starting work on a T2 upgrade. That'll give him a big old bunch of hit points back, make him feel a little bit less vulnerable, and presumably his first course of action will be to throw down some point defense, because looks like some pressure's brewing down here, not just from his natural opponent Nacho Man. We've also got some units moving in from the middle there from once Handsome, including a Mongoose. A little bit of extra range to be concerned about there. T2 upgrade going to complete very shortly, and not before time, because Nacho Man has the gun upgrade. And he's using it to great effect against these tin-foil Auroras. Bearcat completes his upgrade, gets straight to work on point defense, will complete one. That'll focus in on the commander, but there's spam moving right in behind Nacho Man. Bearcat's up to around 6,200 hit points, but we've got a large contingent of bombers moving in overhead as well. Massive bank of T1 anti-air emplacements, but they're going to get obliterated by that bomber pass. A couple of bombers remaining, but they're going to run into some interceptors from Rye guys. But Bearcat in the red now. Looks like he's making a play for the pond left of center, but Nacho Man has locked onto him. We could be about to see our first ejection here inside 12 minutes. Boom! Lovely, lovely pick off there by Nacho Man. Once the nuclear fire clears, we can see how he's faring on HP. Emerging from the blaze and still looking pretty healthy. On about 9,400 hit points. We've got some reinforcements coming in from Red X, but just a little bit too late to the party, unfortunately, to save Bearcat. So Bearcat, our first ejection, but he is an 800. That's the lowest rated player in the game. Nacho Man at 900. Him and Red X are the next lowest rated players. Nacho Man getting himself into the pond. So the bombers that are now circling from faffing off are retasked to some of this inbound spam. How are our air players doing? Well, we're up to T3 air for Rye guys. Oh my goodness, and he's already spat out a strat bomber, and look at the path he's taken. You can literally see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mass extractors. Damaged a T3, took out the mass storage, and then took out a 6th one over here. That's a wonderful bombing run. And we've even got ASFs battling right over the top. And another strap bomber as well, but this time one out from faffing off. Team 1, 1600 rated player. So both players going straight for strap bombers. And this is really bad for Team 2. Strap bomber circling overhead. Air control pretty much in the hands of Team 1 right now. Tech 3 Air Factory obliterated. Scuzz now trapped on what is the most easily defensible position on the map. These elevated sections, but getting bombed into oblivion. Anybody else trying to get involved in the air game? Not really. This is very, very bad indeed for Team 2. Just after they'd had a win on the ground against Bearcat. It looks like they're about to lose their dedicated air player. Oh, that's a thing of beauty. Perfectly placed strap bomb, taking out masses of build capacity and a whole bank of T1 anti-air structures. And the bomber's going to start targeting the comm or go for the mass. Well, I think we have our answer. Scuzz eats a bomb, takes him down to 6,400, and there's no help inbound anywhere. It looks like he's just been hung out to dry, and there's the control K. He knows he's not getting out of it because there's no one there to help him. No one can. He was literally handling air all by his lonesome. Nothing wrong with that. He's the designated air player. But it just so happens that multiple players on Team 1 decided to go for air, and of course one of them being a 1600 in faffing off. Now that strap bomber moving further northwards against Mike S, picking off a vulnerable mechs on the outlying sections of his main base. Is it still alive or has it been shot down off map? Perhaps that's it. That looks like it. 80 kills to its name, that strap bomber. That is grotesquely awesome. I almost want him to retire that back to base and just leave it up in a corner or something. Should be made a general, given a desk job. Too late to do anything. Wonder what they're chatting about exactly. Their air player is dead. Yes, they certainly are. A little bit of ground pressure, though, from Nacho Man. Coming up that left-hand side. What are we looking at in terms of ground forces here that's going to be able to stop it? It looks like it's drifting right over here. I think that's a mistake. Red X has operational point defense over here, which is going to make mincemeat of this little attack. Could have potentially got more work done drifting in this way, but at the end of the day, you're still going to come up against a comm sooner or later. Faffing off over here on an upgrade, and a Monkey Lord on the way. That's pretty early. 16 minutes into the game to be half done on an experimental. Nicely done. But he is our resident pro here today, the only one over that arbitrary 1500 Joe to pro threshold that we set here at Guilecast. That doesn't really mean anything, but that strap bomber's still alive. 83 kills, and now it looks like it's going after some of the spam. Struggling to get a bomb off there, though. We've even got some Tech 2 and Tech 3 units in from Reaper that get right up against a T3 mechs and actually managed to take it out. Although that might have been a smidge of friendly fire in there from all of these circling bombers. Tons and tons of bombers. T1 and T3 from both Rye Guys and faffing off. And those forward bricks just look like they're going to try and retreat now. I'm not sure if they're going to get home to safe territory. No massive push to get build capacity in here yet for Team 2. seem quite happy to just occupy and deny. A lot of air power kicking around. They know it would be hard to set up shop so close to their positions. But that Monkey Lord, as we saw the notify go off a moment ago, has been completed. And as soon as that build pressure is gone, faffing off completes that next upgrade in no time at all. And check out the regen. He's now up to 83 kills still, but he's on 4 stars, that strategic bomber. Just wow. That's the sort of kill tally you'd be happy to see on an experimental. Very rare you see it on your average T3 units. Vinyl throwing down defenses over here around the edge of the pond. T2 upgrade 95% complete over here for Mike S. Instant enlargement of his left arm. Been rocking those reverse bicep curls. Where are we on eco side of things? Well, a pretty huge discrepancy. Team 2 on 635 versus 521. But, as we haven't actually mentioned, full share is off. These average Joes today here showing how real men do things. None of this handing things over after you die business. Of course, that does artificially increase your reclaim tally. But actually, if you look at reclaim, Team 1 are ahead, 150 to 144. But Team 2 up massively overall. That is extraordinary. You can see they are up over 100 mass per tick. That is extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary, especially when you consider that they've lost one of their key men down here, their air player, someone that should be set up in a good position to macro heavily. But impressive work from Reaper, who's landed in here and has already got T2 mexes sorted. He's got land factories up and running. What he doesn't want, though, is to get taken out by an early Monkey Lord. As that inbound Monkey Lord targets his forward base, Reaper gets on the move. Fortunately, we do have a Monkey Lord from Orund moving in, and he gets a perfect engage. While faffing off's Monkey Lord was distracted with the lower order spam over here, he comes in from its flank and cuts it to pieces. Faffing off Def did not see that one. That's a definite win for Team 2. And having said that they seem to look disinterested in setting up shop over here, well, we do now have a presence in Bearcat's old base. Lots of engineers turning up, getting those mexes down, and a whole bunch of land factories queued up. But look out, Gunther's up on the ridge. That's going to make life highly irritating for Team 2 while they try and set up shop. Let's just try and see what they can hit. Well, actually, not so much. That's their range. But, no, it's not at all. That's their minimum range. I was going to say I thought that looked a bit small. So, yeah, setting up shop in there, not so ideal right now, unless you can get rid of this bank of artillery, which is now shielded. And to make matters worse, these are all powered by T1 Gens. Saving grace for them, though, is the fact that some of these shells are going to be colliding with this cliff edge here. Annoying little piece of rock, which, of course, will come to your aid in other situations, defending your base when people set up long-range weaponry down here to fire back at your plateau player. T1 bombers from Nacho Man move up to the top left-hand corner and get slaughtered immediately. No surprises there. That Monkey Lord from Orund still on the move, although is he now turning around? It looks like it. Looks like he's worried about overextending. Vinyl wasn't far away, though. Is that a mistake? Would have been nice to take him out, especially as he's nearly got an experimental bomber done. I say nearly, he's 50% of the way there. Still, that would be worth chucking away a Monkey Lord for. Having said that, it's already down to 26,000 HP just to get from, where was he, about here down into the pond, something like that. But I don't know, I feel like he could have made it. Vinyl would have done a runner, of course. He's got the T2 engineering suite. He's got 20,000 hit points. No telling, of course, whether Team 2 had scouted that at the time. See what they can see. No, so they're not aware which one of these blips is a comm, if anything. So perhaps his decision-making might have been different. It might not. Cue all the pros in the chat criticizing me, saying, Guile, he never would have made that. Joking, of course. The pros don't watch Guilecast. Bricks crushed beneath a wave of T1 bomber spam from faffing off. Who's still producing yet more of them out of this T3 air factory. The other one, though, the HQ, firmly set on producing T3 air units. ASF's the order of the day, with the occasional strap bomber thrown in. But look at that eco differential, man. It's 2 to 300 difference. That is huge. And Team 2 crosses the million mass threshold, harvested mass. That is quite something. A megalith in the center. That's going to clear out just about everything. The question is, though, they might have an advantage, but are they going to do anything with that extra mass? More Monkey Lords under construction. This one for Reaper. And Orond completes an experimental as well. That one produced up front. Faffing off, not going to overextend. Wondering if they have a read on where the Monkey Lords are. Of course, heavily stealth back here makes life much more difficult to keep track of things with that ability. Hardy looking platoon of siege tanks. Or do they become a pontoon when they go underwater? I don't know. No, a wolf pack, surely. Pontoons don't go under the water, Guile. That's not a thing at any point in history. RAS upgrade. 12% done and climbing, but slowly for faffing off. Vinyl manages to complete his experimental bomber. Now, where will that go, if anywhere? Perhaps he might need to do some scouting first before he unleashes that bad boy. Currently parks it just over here, right in the center line of the map. Siege tanks spotted. They draw some attention from Mike S, who sends out some Stork torpedo bombers to deal with it. However, they don't last long as faffing off dispatches his fighters to deal with them. How are we looking at ASF count? Do we even have an ASF present for Team 2? We do. It is Reaper. No surprises there, since he's gone for control of the plateau in the bottom right after the demise of Scuzz. Oh, you can see how paper thin those experimental bombers are as it's brought in for one attack run over here. Looks like it took out like 3 bricks and the shield protected most everything else. Could have been an awful lot better for them. But It's already down to about half health. Down goes the next bomb. Takes down about 4 or 5 Percys, maybe 6. Oh, and manages to snag a couple of forward factories as well. Mike S. working on a Billy Nuke. He's completed the upgrade. So expect to see some attacks, presumably up towards Sixolin, who himself has just completed an experimental. This looks like the focus now of Team 1. That bomber softening things up. Megalith and Harbingers coming in behind it. Reaper positions his ASFs to try and protect against the next run, or at least get some pot shots in. Worth going in for attack run. Surely hasn't got stealth activated. I'm not sure why you wouldn't. Can he shoot it down? Yes, he can. Now he needs to redirect and get to work on engaging these fighters or bug out. He chooses the latter. And he manages to get away, importantly. But, having said that, the Harbingers and the Megalith still very much alive. Mike S. has to stand up front, stand tall with his comm and try and stem the tide. He really hasn't got a lot protecting him. We've got a few Percys and engineers over here hurriedly trying to get some Ravagers online. I'm amazed the Harbingers aren't selecting him as the target. Finally they do, and he doesn't stand a chance. Gets absolutely basted. Inside 29 minutes, down he goes. It's the hardest position on this map to hold. Here and here. Unsurprisingly, they're 2 out of 3 of the first players down and out. A mix of T2 and T3 units there from Nacho Man versus the T3 siege tanks from Red X. Red X will just about hold the field, though there's a bunch of broadswords inbound. And they will put an end to that. No way out of that one. A whole bunch of interceptors from Red X dispatched to take them out. But they're going to fly over this massive bank of railguns over here, and they're going to get pretty badly shredded for their trouble. No dice, sir. I think I'll keep my gunships, thank you. Harbingers lining up just south of that eastern pond there, next to the Megalith, who drops an egg. You just don't see the functionality used very often. Don't know why. It's so darn useful. Instant T3 build capacity right there, just where he needs it for all of this reclaim that he can now get his hands on. Broadswords brought in over here to the east. They do get a few shots on top of the Megalith before it dips below the waves. They're going to redirect onto the Harbingers, but they're probably going to get toasted now as the air superiority fighters from faffing off are brought in. A GC from Sixolin pops, hits its face above the water and starts hosing a whole imbrowned brick column with supporting rhinos. Harbingers back off slightly after that engagement. That might leave that position over here still in the hands of Team 2. Team 2 not really in control over here. We've got no presence bar a couple of badly damaged mass extractors. This one over here will be safe from Gunther fire, certainly. But it wouldn't take much just to send a gunship in over here to total that. Where are we now? So 1.57 million versus 1.37 million. 200,000 mass. That's not to be sniffed at there in favor of Team 2. But it looks like finally Team 1 might be edging ahead in generated income. You can see that ticker just bouncing up and down between 0.3 and 0.4k. And that is, of course, after the demise of Mike S. So that's a huge hole in their income as a team. And, of course, a massive pressure release valve on that eastern approach for Sixolin, who will probably turn his attention now to other things now that he hasn't got a direct threat so close to his main base. Check out all of the mass fab farms going down up here at the top of the map. Another experimental bomber on the way for Vinyl. A good 66% done over there. What have we got going on over here? Not a great deal by the looks of things for Red X. He is working on an Ethota. Nice to see some strategic missile defense. Very important, especially as we've crossed 30 minutes in the game. Wondering if everybody has thought that far ahead. Little bit of petty recriminations going down in the chat there. Go play Gap, says Red X. And check out the big guns, which are on the way. T3 Disruptor about to complete any moment there for Ragaz. And that's a whole new problem that's going to show its ugly face for Team 2. In fact, it sounded, unless that was a Gunther shell? Maybe that was a Gunther shell that I was hearing. Yeah, down there. Look at all of the BM in chat going down. Lots of ugly, ill behavior. Sadly a feature of all video gaming in any age. And another experimental bomber completes for Vinyl. And how is the air situation for Team 1? 37 air superiority fighters for Rye Guys. Faffing off has some 63. Those two, the ones mainly handling air. And 121 for Reaper, who needs to get some of those 121 fighters into the fight because he's just lost a massive proportion of that ground spam over here to that bomber. And we've even got some air superiority fighters as well belonging to Orand here. Air battle potentially brewing, and if the engage is pretty even, numbers dictate it's going to go Team 2's way. So faffing off needs to be a little bit careful here. Reaper pulling in 513 mass as he's sitting on 2 main base slots. If you're wondering how he's managing to pump out that quantity of air. 45 kills to his name. This experimental bomber now targeting this massive group of units and structures over on this side of the map belonging to Once Handsome. Gets a clean attack there, gets in and out without taking barely any damage. It's pretty much at full health, some 57,000 hit points. Shields collapse temporarily over here and then get whacked by an experimental bomb. These are support commanders up front. And we hear things kicking off over in the east as Sixolin advances with his GC and a huge quantity of Harbingers once again. We do have a dead Monkey Lord just to the east down here, recently killed by Sixolin. That is a lot of firepower massing over here. We do have a Megalith, which is going to want to stick around to try and plug the hole here that's potentially opening up. In fact, it looks like he's got its eyes set on faffing off's Megalith up here. Sixolin needs to bring those units in. as this is a clear hit point advantage between these two crabs for Orond. In comes Vinyl's experimental bomber once again. Deplete some of that forward shield and take a lot of damage in the process though. And Reaper just not positioning his Air Force well enough. Too worried about getting embroiled in any engagements, and I'm not sure that's a good decision as Reaper pulls away. Orond just tears forward towards that experimental bomber and loses all of his air superiority fighters to the defensive move from Guys. That was not an ideal engage by any stretch of the imagination there for Team 2. Orond had set up shop down here with a whole bank of defenses, a T3 land factory, and some support commanders, but he's going to lose that to Sixolin. And his massive Harbinger push. He's still got a ton of Harbs here, and they're all pretty healthy looking by the looks of things. That crab we saw a moment ago from Orond moving forward, and it's about to get triple teamed by these three experimentals emerging from this eastern pond. They're going to come in on its flank and absolutely obliterate it. That is not going to go well. Very unfortunate there for Orond, who overextended. Should have kept that in reserve over here to defend. The temptation's always there, of course. Huge quantity of siege tanks massing over here, though, for Nacho Man. What have we got for defenses over here? We've got a couple of Ravagers going up, but most of this is tactical missile defense with the odd SAM. So not a huge quantity in terms of ground defense. But there are experimentals lying in wait, or there will be experimentals, plural, very soon. Red X about to complete his second Ethota there. Wouldn't take it much for him, presuming he doesn't send those out to attack something in the east straight away. Wouldn't take much for him to redeploy those if any attack from Nacho Man materializes in the west. Once Handsome absolutely determined to maintain a forward fire base, support commanders setting up shop over here, and he's got a Fat Boy rolling in as well. That'll be interesting, as we are getting some inbound Tech 2 artillery fire over here. That Fat Boy could break this position if it's positioned well, but it means surviving against this. Double experimental bomber onslaught. Drops a couple of bombs. The first one's going to take out the shields, and the second one's going to take out almost everything else. Wow. The threat that was brewing in the west there from Nacho Man just got neutralized in one bombing run. Eesh. And the worst thing as well for Team 2 is that those two experimental bombers took virtually no damage. A third one under construction now from Vinyl, who's really making these bad boys pay with choice targets and good timing. Oh, but look out. A massive defensive collapse right in the middle for Team 2. We've still got those two GCs from Sixolin, and how many Harbingers just tearing into Orond's base? It looks to be some 42 Harbingers at current count. And not only that, we've got Reaper on an upgrade over here as the two GCs target it. Shields defending for the time being, but they won't last long. Might as well just keep those face lasers on it. They're about to collapse any moment, but they move forward all the same. Reaper cancels his teleporter. Well, that's what you get, sir. He was going for a tele-snipe, had completed the laser, but doesn't get the teleport completion. And look at this. And now that double experimental bomber pressure brought to the bottom right-hand corner to tackle Reaper's secondary base. Orond on a transport over here in major trouble. He didn't actually need to make that bombing run, of course, because Sixolin had just killed off Reaper, so he kind of threw away one of his bombers there unnecessarily. Or in fact, was it both of them? Did the other one get taken down as well? Not sure if that's an earlier wreck. Not seeing any experimental bombers kicking about. Oron's transport spotted and targeted, but he manages to get that comm on the ground as a huge wave of air superiority fighters is brought in by faffing off. What have we got over here? Was that a tactical nuke? Looks like it might just be, but quite frankly, I think this might be game now for Team 1. They've dispatched almost all of Oron's base. Reaper is gone. We've got Tech 3 artillery raining down on Nacho Man. Once Handsome just got taken out by those 2 GCs that are still going from 6 Solon. That is most definitely game. What a massive defensive collapse from Team 2. Things were going okay. I'm wondering if it would have worked out any better if Oron hadn't thrown that megalith away over here. But it was just too many losses. Another fresh experimental bomber rolls in. Nacho Man with his last ditch effort to inflict some damage sends in what's left of his siege tanks up towards faffing off. Oh, Nacho Man defeated by 6 Solon's GCs, leaving Orond alone. Will he control K, or will he wait to get annihilated by an Awasar, which is well on its way, moving in now? We have got a bank of SAMs, but that's not going to prevent this bomber from getting to target. Bosh. Wow. I mean, 3 or 4 minutes ago, we had a full team here, bar one. That is absolutely mental. And just like that, it's over to an almost clean sheet from Team 1. Of course, they lost Bearcat early on. But, I mean, this was a competitive match. The remnants of Team 1 wouldn't let you to believe that initially just from looking at the scoreboard. But that was a solid attack that basically leveled Team 2 in one fell swoop. Very nicely done. Well played, Team 1. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. Don't forget, if you've seen everything on the main channel, there is the Patreon channel, a mere $1 a month. We try and get new content in weekly, just as we try here on the main channel. It's not always easy, as you're aware, but we do our best. And yeah, what do you spend? What do you spend $1 on these days? I mean, especially with what $1's worth. Nothing. That's not a jibe at Americans. We're having massive inflation over here too, by the way, before anyone gets sensitive on some patriotic economic level. Our politicians are screwing up just as badly. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it, guys. As we said, until next time, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.